Hello, everyone. This is Dallas Johnson, lead instructor of the Automobile Dealer Training Association, and I want you to know about some very important changes that are taking place for the way dealerships operate in 2021. So we're going to talk about the new CRS system, and we're also going to talk about some brand new laws that have just went into effect, some of them in July of 2021. So the Combined Reporting System, or CRS, the Taxation and Revenue Department has completed changes to improve your customer experience and enhance their ability to provide fair and efficient tax administration services. So the Combined Reporting System, CRS, that you previously used to file withholding, gross receipts, and compensating taxes has been split into 7 separate tax returns that are tailored to the needs of specific taxpayers. Payments will be different, and you are going to see some changes when you log into the New Mexico Taxpayer Access Point. That's your TAP. So your CRS number is now your business tax identification number. I want to repeat that. Your CRS identification number is now your business tax identification number. The number remains the same, and a 3-character suffix has been added to the end to create a unique account ID for each tax program that will apply to you. So there are some gross receipts tax reporting changes. So beginning with the July 2021 reporting period, 4 separate forms and accounts in TAP are used to file different types of gross receipts tax. So number 1, there's governmental gross receipts. Number 2, leased vehicle gross receipts tax and leased vehicle surcharge. Number 3, interstate telecommunications gross receipts. And number 4, gross receipts tax. So taxpayers are only required to file the returns that apply for them. And for 99% of currently licensed dealers, that's going to be the gross receipts tax that you have been paying in the past. So this means, you're going to be registered and need to file your gross receipts tax return. And if you're not selling any parts, then you'll still just file those gross receipts tax, usually semi-annually as you did in the past. One thing about it, destination-based sourcing. As of July 1st of 2021, the GRT and compensating tax for most goods and services applies at the location where they are actually delivered. And this is a significant change that you must be aware of. Prior to July 1st of 2021, most taxpayers filed the GRT and compensating tax at the location of their business. Retail operations will continue to report GRT for most sales at the business location unless those goods are actually delivered to the customer. So prior to July 1st of 2021, receipts from sales by out-of-state sellers were taxed at the statewide rate of 5.125%. Starting July 1st of 2021, these sales are also subject to local option gross receipts rates. For more information on this destination-based sourcing, then you can actually look up the publications that are right on the TRD website. And once again, that's going to be www.tax.newmexico.gov. You'll click on the forms and publications link. So once again, that's tax.newmexico.gov. Click on the forms and publications link. And as you can see here, these updates to TAP have been implemented already. So the TAP has been redesigned. It has a cleaner look, and in my opinion, it is easier to use than the previous version. So you can click on the Action Center, and you can view any unread messages that you might have received from Taxation and Revenue. And you can also click on the More link, and here you'll see you can easily manage your account information. You can view messages, read letters that are sent from the Taxation and Revenue Department. You can make payments and view any return information, names and addresses, and your submissions. So you're just going to file gross receipts like you did in the past on the TAP website, but it has been redesigned and updated to reflect the latest changes to the business tax identification numbers. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you may, but the best resource for you is going to be TRD. Okay, you can call them 866-285-2996. Once again, that's 866-285-2996, or you can send them an email at grt.trdhelp@state.nm.us. Once again, send an email to grt.trdhelp@state.nm.us. I really hope that you have found this information very helpful. So let's go ahead and get started here. I want to talk about what's going to be happening here during the 21 and 22 dealership trends. So first, I'm going to talk about some of these latest trends. Then I want to cover the very latest 2021 law revisions that have come out of Santa Fe. And in the actual training course, we'll show you how to correctly renew your dealer's license. And remember, this course is just for currently licensed dealers. This is a continuing education course. So, first of all, sales growth is expected. We have customers that are flush with cash right now between the stimulus payments they've received from the federal government. Unemployment benefits have been extended, and right now, many of our customers are actually receiving those child tax credit payments every single month. So research has shown they are buying vehicles. So growth is definitely expected, especially over this time last year. Trucks and SUVs are going to continue to grow. If you've got any inventory on your lot, if you've got any trucks or SUVs on your lot, I'm sure that you realize they are gone. So that's going to continue to grow. Also, digital growth is expected to continue. And what do I mean by digital growth? There are a lot of customers that want to communicate via, email or even text, or maybe you've got some type of chat bot that's on your website. These are really helpful to answer questions from your customers, but they are wanting basically a web-based buying experience whenever they can. So any communication you can do via email or via the internet or anything that you can provide on your website does allow these customers to basically become informed before they do actually come in and buy vehicles from you. So let's go ahead and talk about these brand new laws. The 2021 New Mexico legislature convened on January 19th of 2021, and they adjourned on March 20th of 2021. So any bills that are signed by the governor are chaptered, and most of them become law on May 20th of 2021, unless there was another date specified. Any legislation that was not signed or vetoed by the governor by April 9th of 2021 was pocket vetoed, which means that bill died and would not become a New Mexico law. Now, in 2021, the governor also called a special session. So legislators went back to session in Santa Fe, and they were only there for a couple of days to vote out a couple of bills that were on the agenda that were not passed during the legislative session. And special session is actually very rare for the legislature to go in special session, but they did do it in 2021. So in 2021, this is a long session. In even years, the legislature meets for 30 days. In odd years, they meet for 60 days. And in 2021, the governor signed a massive amount of bills due to the longer legislative session that is held in odd years. So always keep that in mind. There tend to be a lot more bills passed in odd years than they do in even years. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of many of these bills. If a bill specifically affects the operation of a dealership in the state, I'm certainly going to discuss that more. But many of these bills were passed, and I just want to give you a real brief overview of the bills that were passed in the 2021 legislative session. First, let's go ahead and start. House Bill 112. A state or local health benefit shall be provided to all non-citizens regardless of immigration status. So basically, any person in the state is now provided any state-sponsored health benefits or ambulance services or burial services, hospital or medical expenses, and that is written into law. So a person does not have to have legal immigration status to receive these benefits. Senate Bill 49, very important to be aware of this one, okay? Starting on July 1st of 2021 and ending on June 30th of 2030, municipalities, those are your local cities, can use up to 25% of the Municipal Local Economic Development Act funding for expansion of existing retail businesses. I want to reiterate that. Cities are able to use up to 25% of what's called a Municipal Local Economic Development Act for the expansion of existing retail businesses, which can be that dealership that you own. And they're also using it to recruit new businesses to the state. So what exactly is the Local Economic Development Act? The Local Economic Development Act, which we sometimes call the LEDA, is a law that was established, and it created New Mexico's Job Creation Fund, which they sometimes call the Closing Fund. And, approximately 40 states use these job creation funds in conjunction with other incentives to develop a competitive package to help existing dealers and employers expand and attract new employees as well. So a dealer that's expanding operations can provide some sort of security like a surety bond or a mortgage guarantee to cover any mutually agreed upon penalties that could be implemented if you did not move forward with the business expansion that you promised after you have received one of these grants. So I do want you to be aware of that. But, a dealer can submit the qualifying expenses to your local city for reimbursement of eligible expenditures. And what this means Let's say you're wanting to expand. Maybe you're wanting to buy new land. Maybe you're wanting to add to your building or do what's called tenant improvements. You can do this, and there are local Economic Development Act dollars that can be used locally. So you can contact your local municipality and find out if you might be eligible for local Economic Development Act funds. Senate Bill 49 allows an increase to this fund. So it could be very advantageous to you and your dealership if you are expanding, because you can purchase buildings and improve your infrastructure. And there's usually at least $75 million in this state account to reimburse municipalities that might reimburse a local business like your dealership, which might be expanding. So I think it's a great bill. Definitely something you want to be aware of. If you are expanding, you can get some matching fund dollars from the state. Senate Bill 8 has been signed by the governor, and it allows state and local governments to adopt certain environmental regulations that are more stringent than federal regulations. And we as dealers, especially any dealer in the Bernalillo County area that might be facing emissions exemptions, has to be aware that local municipalities and state and local governments can now adopt environmental regulations that are more stringent than federal regulations. So, just to let you know, according to the New Mexico Environment Department, the changes to the Air Quality Control Act that will be implemented with Senate Bill 8 are critical to efforts to mitigate regional and statewide air pollution. So I want you to be aware of that. They do report that the federal air quality regulatory scheme does not really address all sources of pollutants that affect air quality in New Mexico. So, they basically give them the authority to act emissions regulations that are stricter than federal law. And this could possibly allow, Bernalillo County or Albuquerque to change their emissions requirements for dealers. Or if it does, we certainly will let you know. And that certainly would not prohibit your local municipality from enacting some type of emissions regulations as well. So I wanted to make sure that you were very aware of Senate Bill 8. It has been signed by the governor. It will become law. Senate Bill 93 created a new state agency that's going to assist in the development of broadband access. So, if there's a dealership in an area that has no broadband or slow internet access, this agency will hopefully help rural dealerships gain broadband access. House Bill 270, the autonomous vehicle testing. I included this because we as dealers need to prepare for the dramatic changes that are going to be taking effect in our industry with the explosion of self-driving vehicles. So House Bill 270 actually amended the Motor Vehicle Code to allow the testing of autonomous vehicles, which, that's a self-driving vehicle on the roads of New Mexico. So what this bill is going to do is allow what's called platooning of such vehicles, as well as authorizing within a driver-assisted platoon to follow other connected vehicles. Now, this sounds confusing, but this is not just allowing self-driven vehicles to be driven in the state. Number one, it's going to allow truck drivers to have another truck follow them within about 30 feet. There will have to be a driver in the second truck, but the driver will be there just for assistance. So what they're doing now across the United States is creating platooning trucking, and eventually you'll have one truck here that has a self-driven truck right behind it and another self-driven truck behind it, and so far and so forth. Now, driverless vehicles are not allowed yet because those following trucks still have to have a driver inside, but it is, basically setting the landscape to eventually have driverless semi-trucks, just like what they're doing right over in Arizona right now. But this is a test, so this is where the industry is headed. And, I predict there's going to be a day that you could be selling self-driving vehicles on your lot. So we're going to keep you updated each year when new legislation does become available as far as self-driving vehicles. There you see on the screen, Senate Bill 219 amends a number of statutes by removing proof of legal residency requirements for certain occupations and professions and allows submission of an individual taxpayer identification number as an alternative to a Social Security number that's required for certain licenses. So now the state actually allows more occupational licenses to be issued to a person that does not have a Social Security number, but can instead show that they do have a taxpayer ID number. This would allow persons that do not have a Social Security number to apply for a taxpayer identification number and obtain an occupational license in the state. So I thought you might be wanting to know about that. If you know somebody that doesn't have a Social Security license or Social Security number, they should be able to just apply for a taxpayer ID number and be able to obtain an occupational license such as a dealer license. Senate Bill 202. Senate Bill 202 amends the wording of several corporation statutes to capture all names of a business that transacts business in the state of New Mexico. So specifically, the bill reworks statutes so the articles of incorporation, such as for a nonprofit business, foreign corporation, or an LLC, must contain the name under which the corporation is doing business in the state. So just be sure of that. I'm sure you're probably already doing this, but they just want to make sure that any business entity in the state does contain the name under which it is currently operating. So like an out-of-state company can't come in and put a sign that says ABC Motors on it when they have no corporate filings that even say ABC Motors. Okay, I hope I made that clear to you. Senate Bill 129. If you remember in the past continuing education courses, we've discussed the New Mexico Work and Save Act. Senate Bill 129 amends the New Mexico Work and Save Act, which was enacted in 2020 to create a voluntary savings program for private sector and nonprofit employees, as well as self-employed individuals such as dealers, through a retirement savings program that's purchased through a web-based marketplace. So Senate Bill 129 amended the Work and Save Act and basically allows the board to indirectly manage those funds or possibly contract with financial service providers to maintain and manage those funds to hopefully make it a little bit more profitable. And also the board's going to be covered against claims against the Work and Save Act. So I do want you to be aware they did change that a little bit. You know, this is a great savings program for dealers in the state. It's hard for small business owners such as you to save. I know you're probably not paying into Social Security and things like that. But the Work and Save Act is definitely an asset, I believe, for every small dealer in the state. Senate Bill 20. Senate Bill 20 changed the distribution of the motor vehicle excise tax. Okay, so you need to be aware of this because every time you sell a vehicle to someone that lives in the state, obviously they've got to pay their motor vehicle excise tax. So what it's going to do is it's going to take some of the money from the road fund and take it into the transportation project fund. So it really doesn't make any other changes to the amount or the distribution of the motor vehicle excise tax revenue. I just thought you might want to know about this change since you're driving revenue into this fund, since every time you sell a vehicle to someone that lives in the state, you're basically leading to an increase in the state receiving motor vehicle excise tax. So, if you ever have a customer that asks you where the motor vehicle excise tax goes, well, most of it goes to the road fund, but now part of it will go to what's called the transportation project fund. So they are splitting that up just a little bit. That's your motor vehicle excise tax. Senate Bill 12 changes to New Mexico's notary law. So this new law you need to definitely be aware about. This is, in my opinion, a great new law that dramatically changes the state's notary law. Senate Bill 12 allows online notaries. And, so I want to repeat that. Senate Bill 12 allows online notaries. And this was basically allowed to a certain extent during COVID-19, but now it has actually been written into law. And it basically defines terms that were not included in the law previously, like it has the word electronic signature, it replaced official stamp with new technology, things like that. It does prohibit a notary from signing for a spouse or domestic partner. So you can never notarize, say, for example, your spouse or domestic partner's signature, or if the notary or spouse has a partner that has a beneficial interest, you can never notarize their signatures. But it really provides detailed conditions for remote notarizations. It basically shows a notary how to authenticate someone's identity and things like that. So it's really cool because, in the past, you literally had to go to a dealer auction or a bank or somewhere, or you had to have your own notary on staff, Well, now you can notarize documents online. And it does require that notary applicant to pass an exam, and they've got to have a bond as well. Not you, but the online notary company. So also the Secretary of State is going to maintain an electronic database of notaries, and they will notify you if there's a pending expiration of a notary. So do please keep that in mind. I thought this was a really great bill. If you are often finding yourself notarizing documents, you can do that online, and it is totally legal in the state. Okay. So I also want you to be aware that Senate Bill 3 extends the Small Business Recovery Act of 2020, and they renamed it, and now it's going to be in effect a lot longer. So if you remember, the Small Business Recovery Act of 2020 made loans available to New Mexico small businesses that were impacted by the COVID-19 health crisis and the economic shutdown. Loan applications under the 2020 Small Business Recovery Act were due by December 31st. But what this bill does, December 31st of 2020. But what this bill does is it extends the loan application deadline to May 31st of 2022. So they've created quite an extension on there. And it also increased the amount of available funding from $400 million to $500 million. Okay. So please keep this in mind. If you saw dramatic negative effects on your dealership during the COVID-19 crisis, maybe you were shut down for several months, like many dealers were. There's $500 million of lending programs for businesses that were affected by the COVID-19 shutdown or saw a dramatic decrease of their income. So please keep that in mind. You can still apply for these loans now under Senate Bill 3 until May 31st of 2022. So if you're not already there, just go to NewMexicoDealer.com and scroll up to the very top there and click the Enroll Now button. Thank you very much.